This Is My Record, about the fact that when we looked at contact sheets and daily recording, they were quite task orientated, and the person wasn't really reflected in the notes really, and daily recording felt like it was the foundation where we needed to start, and that's what we did. We felt that was probably going to give us the best way to create that culture, to make that difference in the culture of staff, so they can really see customer involvement as just the natural thing that we do day in, day out. Is how are we going to make this meaningful for this person? How are we going to involve this person?
How do you capture that somebody was flying a kite on the beach and that somebody's got wind in their hair? Well, you can't with the written word. So with the aid of the tablets and the photos and the clips of video, they could put something together that could capture it. Once you've shown somebody one thing, that leads to another, and then they will start exploring for themselves.
So we simply said we're going to embed co-production, and we're going to do that by starting off with 3 policies, okay, and looking at how people can inform that. But the decision making and mental capacity policy, we undertook that one with the members board, so people we support from the Bristol area, and family members that were interested in new changes within the legislation, and staff members. And we started looking at our old policy, and we started to look at what the aim of the policy was, okay? And the aim of the policy, our original policy, was to ensure that it met legislation.
That sounds good.
Yeah, to ensure that staff knew what they were doing. But really, when it came down to individuals that we support, it didn't clarify enough about giving people the opportunity to maximise their choices and to maximise their control. Okay. It's a strong policy for us now. It has ownership from everybody. It's got different formats. So within it has flowcharts, because staff found that really easy to understand. We did a toolkit. So when we were talking about how people's choices are maximised, people going, oh, well, how do we do that? So we put toolkits in place, and we put formats in place of an easy guide for people to follow through. Okay, it was still too complicated for the people that we supported, and with a group of people put an easy read together. And I think there's got to be that breakdown of barriers of a no blame culture, and we've got to move towards actually people being freer within their own roles to actually know best.
Carl.
Hello, wonderful. So we've been chatting a bit about holidays, yeah? Would you like camping outside in the freezing cold?
No.
Would you like climbing a mountain?
No.
Would you like going swimming on a beach in the sunshine?
Well, I did do it once, but I enjoyed it.
Ah, you did do it once, yeah? Would you like going to really loud gigs with lots of loud music?
Yes.
Look at your face there. I have to get closer to that, you see. So, loud music and gigs, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So, it is actually really... Look at your faces now, you see. So, it's actually really important, isn't it, that staff sit there and spend time chatting with you. Because if I took you on holiday, climbing a mountain, making you sleep in a tent when it's flipping cold, would you like it? No. So, what's really important is we discover what you really want to do. And I already, in 2 minutes, can figure out that what you like is really loud music and gigs. Do you like staying up late?
Oh,
yes. So, do you like seeing lots of girls and women?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Do you like dancing?
Yes.
Do you like the odd drink or two?
Yes.
Okay, so I've already learned that a good holiday for you would involve loud music, dancing, being up late, having some women around, having the odd drink or two, yeah?
Yep.
Get going on, yeah?
The situation as it was, and still is to an extent, until it's kind of bedded in, the service user, maybe with staff or maybe on their own, decided, I want to go on holiday, which is a really good thing. And then we'd have a form that we'd need to fill in, that staff and service manager would need to fill in, and then get approval from internally in our organisation, an area manager. and then externally you would have to go to their care manager, who would then need to pass it to a team leader in social services. So we were finding, even if we could get our internal stuff done quite quickly, the paperwork and it being authorised, the delay was then getting the MDT together to decide whether going on holiday in the chosen way, you know, venue, location, travel arrangements, the amount of money that was going to be spent was okay and in that person's best interest.
So if I was able to decide, I understood that I was going to spend 250 quid on holiday,
Mhm.
and I want to go on holiday, they'd still have to go through that process.
So the internal stuff would happen quicker, but we would still run into stumbling blocks because that would need to be approved by the care manager and the social services team leader, because that's just the local authority's requirement.
I just find that quite staggering. Can you tell us a bit about what's significantly improved? Because you explained that there's sort of a conversation, a guided conversation that takes place before the annual review,
Yeah.
and that the wishes of the person you support are presented at the annual review. So once it's agreed, they can then decide to go on holiday when they see a bargain and decide it's right, without having to go for external approval again, yeah? So tell us a bit how you've managed to achieve that.
We met with service users, staff, and had some input from some of the local authorities, and we wanted to find out what was the information we needed to make a good choice. And then we asked our participation officer, which is a post we've got in each area, to kind of help us think of different ways to communicate effectively with the people we support, to make it accessible. So we came up with the discussion can be done through kind of video clips, if that facilitates it better. Some PowerPoint stuff has been developed to help people do it in groups if that's what they want to do, and kind of so the emphasis was not so much the form and how we kind of record it, but it's just the stuff that, you know, the information we need to talk about to make a good decision moving forward, with enough detail to reassure care managers and funders. Some of the people we support are really confident and really keen to get going with it, and they're probably going to lead the way as well, so they're going to be booking holidays and dragging staff along for it. So that's
And that's going to be
What we
infectious.
thought about was the fact that quite a lot of talking around the fact that we'd got lots of people's stories, but a lot of them were in us, in our heads,
Yes.
things that we knew about the person that we were supporting, but actually there wasn't any way of having that held in a safe way, and we didn't want to make it documentational.
Yeah.
So we thought that the This Is Your Life idea would create either a book or a short film or a bit of both that would tell the person's story, so that it wouldn't get lost over years.
The really nice thing happened for Michael, actually, because Michael has lots of brothers who he talks to on Skype sometimes, but he doesn't see as much of them as he would like, or they would like, really. And it Dad got in touch with them and said, this is what we want to do. We needed. So 2 of his brothers came and they made a little film with him. So they interviewed him and they interviewed each other. We haven't edited it all yet, but and his brother also sent us all these family photos from when they were growing up, which we'd never seen before. And he'd written a little thing underneath all of them, who they were. So he'd printed them, written underneath who everybody was, and sent us the disc. So it was just like, wow, that was so exciting. And Michael was so excited because 2 of his brothers came and spent the day with him and just kind of messed
Some really special moments, and I suppose I'm sort of really surprised because you know the people you support really well and the families, but until you ask, so have you got any photos? It's just a different question, isn't it? And you discover more about people. It's like we can never stop discovering, can we?
No, that's
Just ask different questions, and wow. I'm fascinated by the work you're doing. Just tell me a bit more. What was it that encouraged you to think about this as a project when we're thinking about integrity gaps that have been the focus of the work?
I was thinking that there's something in the stuff that David Petoniak writes about holding people's stories and holding them really well and holding them in a way that's meaningful. So I think we'd begun, I felt like we'd become more conscious of that.
We had, and there'd been a few times when people had raised it with us, hadn't they, and said, like, the stuff that had happened with the think it was the contract monitoring thing
Oh,
when
yeah.
they said, oh, you know, you've got the stories, but it's not in the plan
Not in the
as such.
support
You haven't got it
plans.
in the support plan. So
Oh,
where
okay.
do you hold the stories? And so that was quite a good question.
And I think it's
okay.
also about the fact that I think the other thing that happens is that we, nothing like as many times as families, but we end up telling the story over and over again. Every time there's a new social worker or a new commissioner or new funding, you know, it's kind of like, well, this is where the person was, this is where they are now. So yeah, it's great now, but this is the journey they've had. And we carry that,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
because the teams might not have done all of that journey. So it felt like we needed something that helped the teams understand the journey. Because sometimes new staff come now
And they don't see.
and they don't get why.
You just see the people as they are
yeah,
now.
and they
Yeah.
just get why sometimes
Yeah.
people kind of go back to stuff that's quite traumatic,
Yeah,
or
of course.
suddenly do stuff because they haven't done the journey
Mm.
from when people started. So there's something about it's helpful for new staff to know people's story,
Mm.
because I think especially in the age of austerity, it would
Yes.
be really easy to come along and say, oh, this person doesn't need to live on their own anymore,
Yeah.
they can just go live in a group of 3 because
Mm.
that'll be cheaper and
Yeah.
easier. Actually, there's a whole load of stuff about why that person
Why it wouldn't
needs
be.
to
Why it wouldn't
continue
work
living
like
on their
that.
own, and how they've
Yeah.
learnt to live on their own, and how they've learnt to feel safe, and how they've learnt to trust people again and
Yeah.
be secure,
Yeah.
which that's not captured in
Yeah.
support plans or diary notes, because how can you? But you know, hopefully finding a way to tell the story that shows that respectfully.
I wanted to know, to literally bullet point all the different creative projects you've been involved in just in recent months, because I'm blown away by the stuff you do. So between the two of you.
Okay, so the first one I'll go with is Flicks in the Sticks, which is now Flicks in the Land on Sticks, which is a pop-up cinema that we started as a pilot, and now we achieved our own funding and run with that. So we have monthly cinema screenings as well as ad hoc events that people come to us to say that they want. So we've run memory sessions, children's parties, we've done history film nights. Over to you.
Well, there's something called the Big Lunch at the Eden Project, the National Lottery Fund, where you can apply for a pack to run this event on something like the second Saturday of June every year. And the idea is to create an event that brings people together, that involves food and drink and fun and games. So we decided to try that. How many people turned up for that one, would you say?
100 and something.
Yeah.
And mixed members of the community.
Absolutely, yeah.
We organise, we're bringing in lots of organisations and collaborations into that because we're asking the communities to support it, which they do. So we've got a time bank that we set up locally, which is, you know, been a curvy kind of journey, but it's now called Mighty Oak Time Bank. So from little seeds, mighty oaks grow. And
given that we're thinking of doing a report and maybe having an event with the CQC and anybody else we can kind of get a hold of, and based on your experiences of this project, what would you want us to be saying to them?
Organisations and help us understand what we're trying to achieve and work to it's got to be working together. There's no option here. There isn't. Everything's too as if it's going to explode. As a social care sector, we need to just work together. It's as simple and basic as that. Listen, just listen.
Is understand that sometimes if something's changed in legislation, if the Care Acts come out, if we have the duty of candle, if we have difference now regarding deprivation of liberty, for there not to be such a quick reaction of expecting a policy, of expecting it to be embedded within teams, and actually to allow us to say, we understand it, we're really onto it, we can assure you that we're working in those ways. Give us a little bit of time to work with people to get our policy right.
One thing that sort of struck you or sort of remained in your head throughout this Creating Positive Cultures project?
I was thinking the way that it maybe it's about when you know what's the right thing to do, you shouldn't make excuses not to do it. So once you've worked it out, this is actually the right thing that we need, this is what we need to do, you have to then be brave enough to go in.
You can't measure quality from the office, and you can't measure quality from forms. You can only measure proper quality by being with people and seeing how the support workers are working, and seeing what kind of things people are doing, seeing what the communication's like between people. Just that being with is the thing that makes people safer.
It's that relationship thing again, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also